We haven't done a episode of the longer ending in a while. The busy month of December, but here we are again. We've started a new series since we've last done this called Savior of the Lost through the book of Luke, Gospel of Luke. We were to chapter 4 this past Sunday in the mornings, talking about the temptation of our Lord Jesus. If you had had more time, Pastor Drew, what would you have spent it on?
Well, although I would argue that that's one of the more disturbing passages in the Gospels, just this interaction between the devil and God, Jesus Christ. I mentioned this in the sermon yesterday too. You know, whenever you have God and the devil in the same room, it's just it is an uncomfortable situation. There's just kind of a strange tension there. But at the same time, I'm fascinated by the temptation account. I'm fascinated about the details of it. And, the main thing that I wrestled with this past week in preparing the sermon, and what I continue to wrestle with a little bit, is just kind of this fascination with Jesus' twofold nature, fully divine and fully human. And so, Orthodox Christianity tells us that Jesus became a human being and that he suffers the same temptations, the same testings that we all do as a human being. It's not like he was a supercharged human being. His divine nature did not minimize the level of temptation that he experienced as a human being. And so it's just very interesting to set my own experience with temptation and testing and success and failures up against one who lived his life to perfection.
You did it the right way, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a couple things in that passage that struck me, and I'll ask them separately and just try and get your thought on it. The first was the command, turn these stones into bread.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was this a voluntary fast? Why was that a temptation? Jesus certainly could do that. You fleshed that out in the passage. But what are we to learn from his denial of Satan's offer there?
That's another thing. You caught me a little bit by surprise there. I did give that some thought last week. Would it have been a sin for Jesus to turn stones into bread?
No, I mean,
well within his power, but it's not as though Jesus didn't know who he was interacting with. And so I think that has to factor in. And the temptation that the devil presented him with is, look, Jesus, I know you have the power to do this. Why don't you take care of yourself? If you want bread, if you're hungry after 40 days of fasting, hey, look, just do it, right? He wasn't at that point saying, oh, you know what, go against God and turn the stones into bread, because the devil is deceptive. And so he just wanted to make it very plain, turn these stones into bread. You're hungry, you can do it. Why wouldn't you take care of yourself? But deeper, Jesus understood that even though it was a voluntary fast, this was his time of preparation before ministry that was ordained by his Father, and to take matters into his own hands outside of his Father's will would have been a vote of no confidence in God the Father, which is exactly what Adam and Eve fell with regard to their temptation.
Yeah, interesting.
Right?
I hadn't thought about the connection to the first sin, which was eat this fruit, and actually there will be an increase in your understanding. Right? Eat this bread, and there'll be an increase in your human readiness.
Right.
It was what the offer was. My thought was that it was an interplay between his two natures. That is, in his divine nature, He had the ability to have no temptation. He could have provided for himself his every need and every satisfaction, but willingly continued to deny himself that food, though he did not need to, in the same way that he willingly gave himself up on the cross, though he did not need to. And so it was just kind of an extra display for us of this is how human I am,
Yeah.
and this is how seriously I'm taking my humanity. I'm not some superhuman where, the desire to eat really isn't strong in me. And when I'm hungry, I can just satisfy it with a snap of a finger. That's not the life that Jesus lived.
Yeah. How seriously he took his humanity and how seriously he took his mission to save us.
Right.
Right.
And that works on the heels of his baptism. Why is a sinless man receiving John's baptism, which was for the forgiveness of
baptism,
sins?
yes.
Right. The only reason could be to identify with us.
Right.
And the same thing he does in hunger. So when Hebrews tells us he's like us in every way, he's really like us in every way. He's hungry, he's tired, he's emotional, he's every way.
Right.
The other question I had, is there any connection to be made between that, I don't know if it's the second request or the final request of the devil was throw yourself down and
That was the final.
command the angels to rescue you. Mm-hmm. That same challenge comes while he's on the cross from some of the onlookers.
Take yourself
Hey, yeah,
down.
bring yourself down if you're the Christ. Command your angels. Call on Elijah. Is there any connection to be made there? Did you find anything in any sources that...
You know what? I didn't come across anything in any sources, but I didn't look at a wide variety of sources when it came to the nature of the specific temptations. And on face value for me, that third one is by far the hardest one to understand. Like, where did this one come from? And so that connection to the taunt or the challenge that Jesus received on the cross, I think that could very well have been a foreshadowing. So that's wonderful. Like the first two temptations, I get it. And that last
hungry,
one,
you want
throw
bread.
yourself
You
off
want
the
power?
temple,
I can
is
give it to you.
strange.
Yeah.
And the way I labeled it, the first temptation, the devil was trying to get him to misuse his power. Second one, he was trying to get Jesus to misuse his, that's not a P one, his will. And the third one was to get Jesus to misuse his position. His position as the Messiah, as the Son of God. Like, hey, just prove it to yourself. Jump off the temple and watch the angels just flutter down and gently take you to the ground. But that one, I don't see why that would have been a temptation, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
There's an interesting little difference in the Gospel of Mark. You've been working in Luke. I've been working in Mark. Mark is the only synoptic gospel that doesn't have anything at the end of the temptation. Like in Luke, it said Satan left him until an opportune time. Mark doesn't have that. He just responds to Scripture to that third one, and then it's done.
We're done, yep.
So it doesn't say that Satan left him until an opportune time. So some of the sources I encountered said that Mark wants to portray, especially to this Roman audience that he's writing to, Mark wants to portray Jesus as constantly overcoming the challenges of Satan, showing that he's a conqueror, so that Satan was still there all throughout. He never left him until an opportune time. In fact, I think the other Gospels say that Satan enters Judas, and I think Mark doesn't have anything like that. So just to kind of continue that thread, like there's an ever-present challenge to Jesus, and we find it first in this temptation, and the challenge is throw yourself off and rescue yourself. And last on the cross, when they say throw yourself off, I mean, still one more chance
Okay.
to be done with this mission. And Jesus consistently the whole way through says,
Yeah, that's nice. And that's one of the, remembering from seminary training, that's one of Mark's things.
Yeah.
Called it a Markan sandwich, and so
Oh, yeah,
that's
you're telling me about that.
you point that out. That's when
Big
you
one.
when you bookend those two, I guess, temptations or those challenges. That's a really nice kind of inclusio of his entire ministry, right?